know that I'm recording. We get this nice voice that says, "Hello, everyone. We're busy recording." So yeah, great to have you all here today. And yeah, we're talking. We're going to be talking about sales, and we're going to be talking about communicating with prospects, communicating with clients, and how do we ask the right questions, and how do we approach to get better conversion when talking to clients. So I'm just going to share my screen and then we can kick off. Okay, I have, if you want, you're more than welcome to just put yourselves in the chat box if you want to comment. I'm just sorting myself out here. There we go. Okay, all right. So today is all about sales. It's all about what you can do differently to get people engaged, talk to people, get the skills of converting, getting people to talk to you, and then eventually closing the sale while you're talking to people. So we start off with the normal positioning is point of power. One thing we've always got to understand, and we do these over and over because repetition is so important. So for the new people coming on board, we really do push this quite hard because we believe it is so important in terms of point of power. Where are you operating? Where do you keep operating in your business? And is it a case of if you're operating below the point of power, is it blame, excuse, and denial? Or is it, do we take ownership? Do we take accountability? And are we responsible for where we are right now and take action? Because very important within our businesses, I find, is that sometimes things become okay and then we slack off and then things start to go wrong, and then we go below the point of power and we become powerless and we start to blame, excuse, and denial. And we always want to be in that powerful place. We want to take ownership. We must remember that we need to constantly be working on the stuff that's important in the business. I found specifically this year, quite a couple of clients have been sidetracked and they've gone back and defaulted back into a scenario where they're dealing with mainly the urgent stuff, the firefighting. Time is becoming an issue again. We're not managing our time. We're not doing the sales and marketing. We're not building relationships with people. And that starts to put us in a bad mental state that puts us under blame, excuse, and denial because it starts to pick up and show up sort of 60 days from today. So always remember, you are responsible for where you are and your future is dependent on you. Participate. So participate. We're going to be talking. We're going to be sharing some ideas. We're going to be sharing thoughts. So please be part of the process. Unmute yourself and really just share your experiences. Purpose of today is to teach you, to educate you, give you the skills and knowledge so that you can go out and do this on your own. Because at the end of the day, if I do it for you, you don't learn to do it. And that's what we always want. Same with the I know. We want to remove that I know factor. There may be things here that you don't agree with. Let's remove it. Let's replace it with isn't that interesting, and let's talk about them and deal with some of the issues that you feel you don't believe in or you know how to do it. Because trust me, we don't necessarily know, and I'll get into it. And then obviously, like always, we want to have some fun. We want to share the winnings and the successes with the team. And we want to have those BFOs, those blinding flashes of the obvious. Those are those aha moments that it just makes sense. But as always, as we kick off, we start off with the wiffle. Not so much about what you feel like expressing, but this is your 60 seconds to let everyone know who you are, what you do, be as specific as you can, and what's been your greatest achievement in the past 3 weeks. So I'm going to kick off. I'm going to select somebody. Lungi, if I can pick on you, tell everyone a little bit about your business. What is it that you do, and what has been your greatest achievement in the past 3 weeks? You are on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
Hi, Peter. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me
Lungi,
properly?
yes, we can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we run a company called Busy Evolution. We are an accounting firm. So we provide accounting, tax, payroll, and advisory services. So the past 3 weeks for us has been a bit of a challenge, but our success is that we managed to replace the senior accountant, and we are back on track now. So the team is fully functional. And yeah, we're looking forward to the coming filing season, which is a very busy season for accountants and tax practitioners. So for today, I'm hopeful that I'm gonna learn something new, how I can do things differently and learn from the other business owners as well.
Thank you, Lungi. Great to have you here. Kirk, over to you.
I'm Kirk Risch. I've got a little company called Blitztech. We focus on earthing and lightning protection solutions for various markets, telecommunication, mining, and we big player in the renewable energy market, where we supply earthing designs and material to do the earthing and lightning protection. We operate out of Johannesburg with presence in Cape Town and in PE.
Excellent, thank you. Greatest win over the last achievement over the last 3 weeks?
We haven't had many wins over the last 3 weeks. In the last two, 3 months, it's been quite a downward spiral. I'm in a seasonal business, so yeah. So we expect it to start picking up now again.
Excellent, thank you. I see as we got somebody else joining us. So we've got a leader who's just joining us. I'm just letting her in. Excellent, so leader's coming in. So Fani, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Okay, Fani Basson, company is called Rapid Struct in telecommunications, to be more specific, in wireless data, but more on the infrastructure side. So we provide structures for the internet service providers for line of sight. That's one of the things we do. The other things, we install radios, commission them for data communication, and then we also plant the ISPs at already existing iSites. That's a glance at what we do. Yeah, the last 3 weeks was actually very, very well. A lot of our marketing initiatives actually kicked in place. And we had amazing feedback. We actually had the exhibition at the Nampu show down in the Free State. There was a little bit feedback, but not a lot. And then we partnered with a big distributor that is in our field of expertise, and they actually got a chain down of about 6,000 clients that we're actually connecting through to now as well. We already had amazing feedback. That happened last week Friday. We already have a purchase order. So yeah, that is from my side a very good 3 weeks of achievement so far.
Excellent, well done on all that activity. Erna, over to you.
I am from the company Employee Insight, and we specialize in integrity assessments and human risk assessments. So it's like a background screening company, but we don't see ourselves as only a background screening company, because we also focus on psychometric assessments, and we try to have a look at the psychometric assessment as a scientific tool, and then we go back to the background screening part, where we evaluate a specific employee's performance in the work environment, personality in the work environment, ethical behavior in the work environment, etc. And we integrate the two parts, the background screening and the psychometric testing. And then we have a profile of the person, and we can advise a client if this specific person will suit the position. So it's mostly on a pre-employment basis. So then the client can decide if they want to appoint the person or not, depending on is he a human risk for the company or not.
Excellent. And your greatest achievement in the past 3 weeks?
I think we talked about that, Peter, but today we were lucky to have a new client that contacted us on Monday, and today they became our new client. So we are very lucky about that.
Oh, well done, and congratulations on that. And just so you guys know, especially for those of you that are in the project area, is Erna and Emma have helped one of my clients with something as simple as a police clearance certificate. We all know when you need to go on site or you need to apply for a new vendor application, they want all this documentation and the mission that goes around trying to get a police clearance or something like that. And yeah, Anna and them were able to help one of my clients. So thank you very much for that.
Thank
Anna's
you, Peter.
new, and then also we've got Alida. Alida's joined us. So Alida, thank you for joining us. It's also your first time here today. So tell us a little bit about your business. Be as specific as you can. And what is your greatest achievement in the past 3 weeks? I see you're on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
Hi, Peter. We have two businesses. The first one we started was my husband fixes all earth-moving machineries. And then the second one we started in 2021, where we hire out the plant to mining businesses and construction companies wherever they need it. So yeah, with he's got a lot of clients with these repairs and stuff, and I handle all the plant hiring.
Excellent. And your greatest achievement over the past 3 weeks?
Greatest achievement, we did get a few new clients. So yeah, that's for me a big achievement, because the more customers you have, the better it goes.
Excellent. Well done. Well done to everyone, and really great. And thank you for introducing yourselves. So, you know, when we look at selling, what is selling? How do we define selling? And a lot of us have different interpretations of selling, and a lot of times it's sort of a negative. And I think this is because we've been murdered by cold calling companies, insurance companies, people that just phone and want to sell you stuff. But when we really drill down and we look at selling, and selling is what we call professionally helping people to buy. And this is extremely important, because you are there to help people. You are there to offer a service or a product that they need that solves a problem. or solves a challenge. And this is very important. And selling is about providing information, building relationships, so that you professionally help people to buy. Now, you get 4 types of salespeople in this world, and you might recognize yourself here. And the first one is the order taker. And I think we're all guilty of this at some stage, is the order taker. We sit and we wait. We wait for the phone to ring. We wait for somebody to call. And when nobody calls and the phones are not ringing, we go into that pointer power slide where blame, excuse, and denial. Our head goes into the toilet and we're not getting orders. And you know, an order taker is really, in our terms, is an internal salesperson. You know, you could be the best kept secret in South Africa. And if you're waiting for people to come to you and not letting people know that you're out there, how is that helping you? Then we get the product pusher. And this is a guy that just talks about the product. So, I mean, if you think about a typical example, when you go to the doctor and you sit in front of the doctor, does the doctor tell you how great he is and how great all the equipment is and why you should be there with him and why you should be using him? No. A doctor is there, he asks you questions about what your problem is, what could be wrong. He's not a product pusher. Product pushers, I always talk to them as it's a holiday point, timeshare. I think over the years, and I think it has got better, timeshare pushers were a menace because that's all they did. They push product, they push product, they push product. You sit in front of the client and you're telling him, or they're telling you, you know, all about the products. And they're telling you all about the great service and they're telling you about everything, but you're not actually building a relationship with the client. You're not identifying what the client needs. And that's the product seller. Then you get the overseller. And I recently had a discussion with somebody who actually was complaining about one of their salespeople. He's the overseller. Promises the world. Tells everyone that he's going to do it today, that you'll have it tomorrow, but then never happens. He's the salesperson that sells and then expects everyone else in the organization to just catch up and do it. And that is a problem, because overselling creates a scenario where a person will buy from you once and they won't come back. We must always remember, within the sales process, people buy from you because they know you, like you, and trust you. And you'll hear me say that over and over again. They know you, they like you, they trust you. But there's a fourth element, is they will try you. So the question comes is, if you oversell and under-deliver, will they come back and buy from you a second time? So the salesperson that you need to be is the problem solver. This is the person that helps the customer find what they need. And we'll get into this, and we do this by asking the right questions, finding out what their issue is. Because at the end of the day, people will buy from you because they're either solving a problem or you're moving them towards a position where they want to be. And this is what you want to be. You want to be the problem solver. And the thing is, when we really look at sales, and we look at sales made simply, the beliefs that we have about salespeople is what we need to manage. And what I want you to do right now is I want you to write down, take a piece of paper and write down, and it doesn't necessarily have to be 5 things. It must be at least be 3. 3 beliefs that you have about salespeople. What comes to mind? When I say a salesperson, you've got a salesman is on the line. What are the 3 to 5 things that come to mind? And I want you to take a moment to actually just write that down. So if we think about this, and I'm going to open the floor now, and I want to start with Fani. Fani, what comes to mind when we say salesperson or salespeople?
Well, I could think of 2 immediately. That the first one I will say it's a bit of a negative one. I don't trust salespeople, or I think, yeah, there's something around salespeople that makes me think that they're driving the price, and they're not looking into the actual need. That's just a negative point. And then the other belief I've got about sales, I need it, and I know for sure it's not my cup of tea.
Excellent. And I'm not going to pick everyone, because otherwise we'll be here for everyone forever, because we've still got a couple more questions to answer once we finish this one. So, and I'm not going to ask Kirk because he's done this before. So I'm going to go over to Lungi. Lungi, what jumps to mind when we talk about salespeople?
So for me, Peter, I just think that, someone is trying to sell me something that I don't want, or something that I don't need, so they're just gonna try and convince me. And the other thing is that they're gonna waste my time, because, I'm always busy, and then now I have to be on a call for 5 to 10 minutes. I just don't like, I don't like salespeople.
Excellent. Well done. I mean, that is really, really great. Erna, for you, when we say salespeople, what comes to mind?
Peter, unfortunately, also, I'm immediately negative, and I usually feel that I don't have time to listen to them. So sometimes I feel a bit jammer for them, and then I listen for maybe a few seconds, and I think once or twice I found that it's actually a good product if I listen more carefully to them. But yeah, that is not the immediate effect they have on me.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I mean, that is great. Let's go. Alida, last one. Just remember you're on mute. There we go.
Yes. Yes, I would also say the constant phone calls, especially when you're busy or you're in traffic or something, when they phone you constantly. And I don't trust salespersons, all honesty. And they are really like this oversellers, that they need to make their sales, or need to get their what do you call it, to make their commission at the end of the month. They've got targets that they have to get every month. So yeah, that's how I feel about a salesperson.
Excellent. I mean, if we have a look at it, trust is a big thing. I mean, straight away the negativity comes to mind when you see that call, and Truecaller is so great these days, so you don't even answer the call because it says it's spam. But this is how we've been programmed. We've been programmed that selling is a negative thing, which tells us that our job is actually very hard in terms of selling, because we've got to overcome a negative perception about selling. And we're going to talk about it and talk about how do we overcome those negative perceptions? How do we build the trust? How do we not be pushy? How do we not be overselling? Very important. Then when we look at what are your beliefs when we talk about customers? And this is another thing. When we talk about customers, what jumps to mind? What just bounces around in your head? So I'll give you guys a moment just to write that down. So Kirk, I'd like to pick on you, yeah. So what jumps to mind when we talk about customers?
I think we're miracle workers. And they always push you down for price. They don't want to, they don't see the value in what you're actually offering half the time. And then when they do buy from you, they expect you to perform miracles. But anyway, that's part of sales, and that's what makes it fun.
Excellent. I mean, thank you for that. I mean, that is really, really, really great. Fani, when we talk about customers, what do you say?
Okay, this is positive. So the first thing, a customer, I just see I carry them on my hands, and then they value the support I give them, and I always appreciate positive feedback from customers. So on the end of the day, that's our bread and butter, and yeah, and to always present new ideas, and it's almost like you know, the highlight of my day if I can interact with customers and you know, show them something new or something new to offer, or try to achieve something that's not been achieved before.
Excellent. Thank you. And I see Mariette is joining us. So I'm just going to let Mariette in. So let's who shall I pick on next? Yeah, Alida, you I think you're in quite a tough industry. So when we talk about customers, what comes to mind?
You're right about that. Customers, like I'm going to agree with Kirk there. They would always, when you send the invoice, they will always ask for a bit of discount. They will always try to get you to write off some kilometers if you travel to sites, those type of stuff. Well, then you'll get some of those clients that would say, since you have worked on my machine, this and this and this has happened. But then you prove them wrong that, you know, it's not, that's not the problem. So yeah, customers can be difficult, but you also get very nice customers that's been long with us since we started.
So it's always great to have that in terms of customers, because I've experienced that over the years as well. Is you get great customers and we talk them raving fans. They love you. You can do almost nothing wrong. And then you got those other customers, price driven, aggressive, pushy, and yeah, it also negatively affects us, because we want as business people and just as, because sales is probably one of your primary functions as a business owner right now. It does affect us in terms of the morale. And yeah, we need to understand that, you know, if we're selling right to the customers, we then want to turn them into raving fans. And then we talk about the next one is products and services. When we think of products and services, what jumps to mind? When I think about a product, or you think about your products and services, what jumps to mind? And I'm going to pick on Anna here because she skipped out the last one. Anna, so what jumps to mind when you talk about products and services?
Peter, for me, it's that our products and our services is difficult to explain, and that the market is not very educated about what we do. yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Excellent.
That we have a difficult product.
Yeah, and as you say, it's once you've learned how to explain that. Excellent. Lungi, when we talk about products and services, what comes to mind?
So for me, Peter, is the fact that I know that our products and services that we offer, most businesses and individuals, they need it. But the challenge is to try and convince them that they actually need these services. And the fact that I know that we are experienced and, we are qualified and, we are affordable, but it's so difficult to make the customer see all the value that we can add, to their businesses. Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, I mean, it's and I love that sometimes we don't explain. We haven't actually written down some sales scripts in terms of how do we explain to people what it is that you do. How do you convince people to buy? And we're going to get into that, your services and your products and services. And that is extremely important. And one thing we need to understand is that there are two areas of sales that people make decisions on. And it is logic versus emotion. So what is logic? Logic is Volvo, safety features, airbags. That is logic. Logic is why people need you in terms of your service offering, your product means lightning. You're going to protect your equipment. That is logic. Logic is we offer services where we can evaluate your people before you employ them to make sure they're a great fit for your business so that you don't employ the wrong people. That is logic. Emotion is, well, how does that affect me? What is the emotion? So a person will say, well, I like a Volvo, so therefore I'm going to use emotion. Why do I like a Volvo? Because I look good. I like the way it looks. It makes me feel great. I love the smell of the leather when I get in there. But what's different between that and a BMW and a Mercedes? And when we have a look at how people make decisions, is they only make decisions, 20% of the decision process is logic. 80% of the decision process is emotion. And if you think about it, let's take, say, someone like Erna, is the emotional side of knowing that you're going to employ the right person because you've screened them properly. What does that do for you? The emotional side of knowing I don't need to go stand at the police station and try to get a police clearance certificate. That is an emotional thing. The logic is, well, I don't have to stand and I don't need to waste my time. And so I can use these people and probably I'm prepared to pay more. Emotion is, well, I'm going to use Kirk's products because I know that if I don't use their products, how will that affect me emotionally if I blow up a 2 million rand machine for lightning or power strikes or due to Eskom load shedding? That is the emotional side. The emotional side for Fani is knowing that I can get data. Because when I can't get data, how does that affect me emotionally? The logic is, well, they're great people. They got their skills, they PEE, they tick all the boxes. That's the logic side. But it always comes down to the emotional side. And what I want to do now with you is I want to share a video with you about how you talk to that emotion. And I just need to adjust my sharing to accommodate for sound. So here we go.
Go ahead, sell me this pen. Today I'm going to teach you how to sell anything to anyone, anytime. Now, when it comes to selling, when it comes to closing, there's so many techniques and so many ways. Today I'm going to share with you 3 powerful secrets that you can use to sell anything to anyone. The very first secret is this. How do you turn something that's a commodity? How do you sell a product? How do you sell a service? One, understand this. People don't buy because of logic. People buy because of emotion and they justify it with logic. People buy based on emotions and they justify it with logic. I want you to think of something that you want to buy in your life. It could be a car, it could be a house, it could be anything. Just I want you to picture that. Once you have that in your mind, I want you to ask yourself this question. Why do you want to buy it? Why do you want to buy that particular item? Why do you want a new suit? It looks good on you. Maybe it's a new dress. Maybe it's a new car. You buy it. I want you to dig a little bit deeper. If you are buying emotions, maybe you buy the item because of greed, of generosity, that by buying this item is going to help this particular product. They're going to donate a certain amount to charities. Maybe you buy because of generosity. Maybe because of shame, that if I don't buy this, I'll look foolish. If I don't buy this, I'm going to be missing out. I don't want to miss out. Maybe it's an escape. They go on the vacation, your 9-to-5 job is driving you fucking crazy and buying it because of escape. Whatever those reasons are, those are very often emotional reasons. So you buy because of emotion and you justify with logic. There's some benefits. What this thing would do for you. Or are you pushing those emotional hot buttons? I remember one time I was in Harry Rosen, which is a very well-known kind of menswear store, high-end in Vancouver. I walked into the section and the salesman approached me and said, "Sir, is there anything I can help you with?" I said, "No, I'm just browsing around." And he said, "Do me a favor, put this suit on." Now I have a lot of suits, but I don't have a Tom Ford suit. He said, "Do me a favor, put this on." I said, "All right." I put it on. He said, "How do you feel?" "Well, it feels pretty good." I said, okay, that's pretty good. He said, "Oh, it looks great." He said, "Sir, are you a fan of James Bond?" I was like, "Who isn't a fan of James Bond?" Like, duh. He said, "You see this suit right here, this tuxedo, is exact Casino Royale. You know the scene when he was gambling? Fuck, it looks good, right?" And before you know it, I bought the damn fucking tuxedo, right? And it's all of that. What am I buying? I'm buying emotions. What I'm buying is this. I'm buying when I wear this tuxedo, I feel good. As a James Bond fan, I feel like James Bond. Even logically, I know this, of course, is not James Bond. I'm not James. This is cool that I own, I wear the same tuxedo, the same fit, right? The same everything. And then he upsold me on the damn, like the shirt and the cufflink, the whole 9 yards, right? And they justify with logic. You have to understand that. Don't push your product. Don't just push your services. Don't push the features and benefits. Think of people don't buy their way into something. They buy their way out of something. It means people very often, they buy something because they have a problem they want solved. People don't buy the drill, they want to hold on the wall. So what is it that you are helping them solve? What problem? What is it? The amount of money that you make is in direct proportion to how deep you understand your marketplace is paying. The amount of money you make is in direct proportion of how it's paying. So you have to understand what it is, what are the pains that people have, and how can you help them relieve some of that pain. So think about that. Products and services, they buy stories. Because when there are so many choices out there in the marketplace, on the internet, any product that you want, there are hundreds add emotions to a commodity, a pen. What's the difference between a $2 pen like this or an $800 Mont Blanc John F. Kennedy limited $1 pen? It's the same pen, it's the same functions. Story. When you add story to an item, suddenly when you add the John F. Kennedy, the president's story, attached to a brand, 100 times more valuable. It is 300 times more valuable than a particular pen. All because the story, he writes the same. A $2 pen you can write too. That's the difference. So think about what into everything that you do. Maybe it's your origin story. How did you get started? Why do you do what you do? What are also stories of your customers? Our description, you can check it out. It's the Dan Lok Global Community on YouTube. It has nothing to do with the program that I teach. It has everything to do with stories. It's stories from my students, what they have learned, their background, their stories. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing but stories. It's other people's stories, other people's success stories. So where are you using stories in your marketing, in your business? How else can you use stories? Remember, facts tell, stories sell. So comment below, tell me, based on these 3 secrets, how will you sell me this pen? Go ahead, comment below, sell me.
So very, very interesting scenario there when you have a look at it. Okay, I was just reading a chat from Farney. He's just changed over to his phone. So he's still listening in. I just want to share, change our sharing. Yeah. Okay, so when you think about that and you think about the stories, if you think about the statement that he says is that the amount of money you make is directly proportional to how well you understand your client's pain. And it comes down to a formula that we use in Action Coach called the formula for change. And we talk about the D is for dissatisfaction, the V is for the vision, F is for the first steps, which is the action, and then the R is the resistance. So the dissatisfaction times the vision plus the action must be greater than the resistance to change. So you might be dealing with somebody who's already involved, has somebody doing what you do. Why would they change to you? And what I always recommend and advise all my clients is that whenever you go into a sales meeting, write this formula in the top right-hand corner of your page, of your notebook. D times V plus first steps must be greater than R, because what you're going to do when you're having your meeting, when you're talking to somebody, whether it's on the phone or whether it's face to face, is the first thing you got to first do is find the dissatisfaction. What is the problem? What is the emotion that you can solve? The vision is then you take them through the process of explaining to them how you can solve the problem. And then the first steps, which is the action, is actually where you start to close. And we're going to get into that more detail as we go along. So the first thing we have to do is we have to identify money. What is your belief around money? And I think you can just take a moment and write down what is your belief around money? So let's start. I see we got Mariette on, so let's pick on Mariette. Mariette, what is your top belief around money? When I say money, what jumps to mind? I just remember you're on mute. Okay, Mariette is here, but she's not here. So let's jump over to, let's see who, Fani. Fani, let's jump over to you. You're on your phone. You should be able to unmute yourself. What comes to mind when we talk about money?
Hi, Peter. I think it's sometimes hard to make, sometimes easy to make, but to keep it is hard. Or to have enough is hard. Yeah, that's basically what I think.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I love that. I really do. I love that. And then, yeah, Alida, when we talk about money, what comes to mind?
Peter, I would also say as soon as you get money in, it goes out because you use the previous payments to buy for the next job's parts or for the transport of the machines or whatnot. So yeah, that's my beliefs around money.
Excellent. Thank you. Lungi, what's your belief around money?
For me, Peter, you know, when I think about money, I always think about how can I generate more of it, and as well, how can I manage it now? This is the profits, and how can I grow it and make it work for me, so that in the long term I don't have to work, you know, hard the way I'm working now. But as the previous person said, it's so difficult because most of the months you don't have the profit. But my thinking is always that how can I make more so that I can be able to grow whatever that I have left at the end of every month so that it can work for me, you know, in the future.
And I think that's great. I mean, one of my clients, I think last year, on the last year's session, said, you know, his father always said to him, you got to keep a close eye on money, because if you look again, it's gone. I received a call today from a prospect who said to me, you know, Peter, I'm making so much money, but I don't know where it's going. I need you to help me find out where my money is going. But yeah, what is money? Money is an idea backed by confidence and action. And you got to think about what does that mean? Money is an idea. So we create an idea that we want to make a certain amount of money. And then you got to look at your belief system to say, how confident am I that I can make that money? So when my belief system, as a lot of you say, is in a negative state, you know, money goes away very quickly. We're not able to hold on to it long enough. How do we make more because we're not battling more? You need to say to yourself, it's an idea backed by money. And then it's got to be action. And that is very, very important, is to say, you know, I have an idea. I want to generate a certain amount of money by a certain amount of time. I have the confidence to do it, but I need to take action in order to do it. And we do that through sales, and we do it through Sales Made Simple. And it's through communication. Because at the end of the day, communication is the true response you get. So what I say and what you hear is not necessarily always the same thing. And our communication with our clients and our prospects is so important. And what we use what we call a language system, which is designed to teach you about how you communicate with others. And when communicating, you know that 40% of your communication is visual, 20% is auditory, and 40% is kinesthetic. Now, some of you might ask, what's kinesthetic? And that is touch and feel. So when you're not selling a tangible product, like say cookies, where a client can actually hold it in his hand, you've got to then focus on the visual and the auditory. And this is where your body language comes into play. Your tone of voice, what do you say, only counts for 20% of your communication style. The way you present yourself, the way you look in front of a client is very important. So there are three tools: is your words, your voice, your body language. Those are the three things that are so important when communicating. Words only contribute 7% of your communication. Your voice, your tone of voice is 38%, and your body language is 55%. Do you know that if you walk into a person's office, you've got 30 seconds and he or she will decide whether they like you or not? And that is purely based on your body language, your representation. When the person looks at you and thinks, well, I could like this person. First impressions are so important when dealing with prospects. And we call this a neuro-linguistic programming. It's how we think, it's how we code it. It's how we understand the mind. And, you know, the big thing is how we've all been programmed over the years. And one of the things I want to teach you right now is what we call mirror and match. And I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen for a moment, just so that you can all see me better.
Peter, can I interrupt quickly? Sorry.
Yes, Kirk.
I'm going to have to say goodbye to everybody. I have to shoot out.
Not a problem, Kirk. I'll send you the recording.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the
Enjoy.
lesson.
Take care. No
Cheers,
problem.
everybody. Bye. Bye.
So, your body language. So when you're talking to a person, you walk in, you sit down, you shake their hand, you sit down, and the person is sitting back. I want you to sit back as well. Don't copy him. If his hands are clasped, don't clasp your hands, but just sit back. And when the person talks to you, watch his body language. When he sits forward, then move forward. Lungi, okay, I see you also want to go to church. No, that's fine. I will also send you the recording. Sit forward. Watch the language that the person's using as well, and use similar language to the prospect. If the person leans on their hand, after a couple of minutes, move forward and mirror them, and it creates a comfortable environment. Never sit with your arms crossed. Never do that. Always have yourself in an open state when talking to a prospect. You can cross your legs, because once we cross our arms, we're creating a barrier. So the minute you find that when you're talking to a client and he's sitting like this, you know you've got a problem. You've got a problem when talking to that client, getting them to open up. And I remember about 2 years ago, I was talking to a prospect and he was sitting like this. And after about half an hour, he opened himself up and he stretched and he stayed down. And then I knew, okay, we're now open to talking. And that is so important to understand, is always try use the language that the person's using. I mean, not foul language, but try use the type of language, imitate, but don't copy. Don't make it look like you're copying him. But if he sits back. If he moves forward and leans on the desk, after a while, count to 3. And you do this long enough, it becomes normal. And that is so important. So I just want to share my screen again, go back to sharing. So in the beginning, it takes a little bit of effort, because there's different levels of unconscious versus conscious. So in the beginning, we are unconscious incompetent. We actually don't know what we don't know. Just like your 16-year-old son who believes he knows how to drive a car, he's unconsciously incompetent. And then you give him the keys to the car and suddenly he realizes and he becomes conscious that he is incompetent. Then he starts to become consciously competent, just like you now in terms of consciously competent, is you're going to have to practice your sales and communication skills to the point where it becomes automatic. Eventually, it becomes unconsciously competent. And the same with the way you're talking to clients and the questions you're asking. You've got to get to that unconsciously competent. And the only way you can do that is becoming consciously competent, knowing that you've got to put your foot on the clutch. You've got to put it into first gear. You've got to talk to yourself. You've got to remind yourself. Sit back, do this, talk to the person. Very, very important to do that. And one of the things I want to bring to your attention, and I've sent you all the paperwork for this, is DISC. This is a communication profiling about the clients that teaches you how to communicate with prospects, but also how to communicate with each other within your organization. And you get 4 types of communication styles or personality styles within people. And there's a lot of others. You get the 9 styles, you get all sorts, and I've seen most of them. So you get what we call the D. This is a guy that's very dominant. He's results driven, he's direct, he's competitive, he's very much outgoing, he's task orientated. Then you get the I, who's an influencer. He's always enthusiastic, he's always friendly, he's always optimistic, he's outgoing, but he's also very people orientated. Then you get the S, is what we call steadfast. He's sincere, he's patient, he's modest, he's people orientated, but he's very reserved. Then you get the compliance. It's very much task orientated, but he's also very much reserved. He's very accurate, very curious, very contemplative. And now when you sell to these different people, you need to understand how your language has got to change. You need to understand how do you talk to these people. And if we have a look at the different DISC profiles, you get the D, he's autocratic, he's very much results driven. He listens, but only listens to what he wants. You know, you need to save him time. He doesn't want to waste time. He wants to build his own structures. He wants to be efficient. He wants to be conclusive, and he takes action. He wants to know what the benefits are, you know, and he's not too worried about other people's opinions, but he just wants options. So when you sell to a D, and I'm going to get into this guy doesn't want too much information. He wants you to get in. He wants to tell you how you want you to tell him how you're going to solve his problem, and he's going to say yes or no. Then you got the I. He will attack. He can be very aggressive. He likes applause. He likes to hear what people think of him. He needs to check things. You know, he likes to save effort. He doesn't want to do a lot of work. You know, he does inspire to achieve goals. He likes to be stimulating. He is a big dreamer. He's more interested in the who. Who's going to do the work for him? Who are you rather than the what? He likes to see what other people have said about you, and he likes to be social. The S, he's accommodator. He likes attention. He's very much relationship builder. He likes suggestions. He's very agreeable. He's always interested in the why we got to do that. He wants guarantees. He wants insurance, because he's always very concerned about what other people think about him. Then you got the C. The C is the avoider. He wants to be accurate. He takes a little bit longer to make decisions because he wants more information. He likes to look good. He doesn't want to lose face in front of other people. Like I said, he wants you to provide him more details. It's got to be accurate. He wants to know how you're going to do it. He wants evidence to see that it's going to be work, and it's very technical. So you can see when you sell to these 4 different styles, it's extremely important. So when we have a look at a D, to communicate effectively, you know, you need to be brief. You need to cover the high points. You need to focus on the results. Let them win. Be direct. A D will make a decision very quickly, and he'll leave it up to a C to figure out how to do it. You need to be enthusiastic. You need to talk a lot about his personal life. You need to socialize. You need to be caring. You need to be relaxed. You need to be talkative. They want to feel comfortable. They want to feel that what you're doing is going to make them feel good about themselves. Then you got the S, the steady. They like relaxed tones. They're a little bit slower paced. They're logical. They take time. They ask questions. S's are very, very difficult to sell to. S's are the type of people that will say yes, 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 and will never buy from you. Or they take a very long time to actually buy from you. If you've got S's that work for you, it's a tough job getting them to take action. A S is the guy that will tell you you'll have it by Friday, and 3 weeks down the line, you're still waiting for it. A C, you need to give more information. You will very seldom sign a C in the meeting. You're going to have to go away from a C. You're going to have to send them an email with some more information. You're probably going to have a follow-up meeting. They want to take time. They want to see everything. You need to give the information. You need to listen carefully. You need to ask the right questions. They are perfectionists in a lot of ways, and they like high standards. They're not flexible, and they can be hard to please. So it's what I have done is I've sent you all a DISC profiling sheet. I want you to read it, and I want you to identify your DISC and see how you can apply this. So I also run a DISC program. If you would really like to do the exercise, there is a fee where we do the DISC for normally larger companies, and we do DISCs for the people and the team. So one of the most important things about selling is questions. You need to listen twice as often as you speak. People will sell themselves, and that's the thing. If you find the dissatisfaction, you solve the problem, they will sell themselves. If you're sitting and you're having coffee with somebody, with a prospect, your coffee must be finished and theirs must still be half full because they're doing all the talking. And it comes down once again to the change formula. You need to be asking the questions to find the dissatisfaction, to find the vision, to find the solution for them to take action, to overcome that resistance to change. Now, we do this by going through what we call a question funnel, a question process. Is you ask the client a question, how are you doing today? What is your biggest challenge? And he'll give you an answer. Then you'll ask a little bit more information. So it could be a simple question like, let's talk about people. What is your biggest challenge you have with your staff at the moment? And I keep employing the wrong people. They don't get motivated. Okay. Got an answer. So now I want to drill down a little bit deeper, and I want to ask another question a little bit more about that. What is the problem you're having with lightning? What is the problem you're having with cellular networks at the moment? And you want to keep asking the question. And you want to dig deeper, and you want to keep asking questions. Remember, your job is to ask questions, and you want to keep asking those questions, and you want to keep going until such time as you reach the emotion where the client now asks you a question. Because you're going to tell stories, just as we heard from Dan Locke, is as we talk about the question and you're going to get an answer, you're going to tell a story about that answer, you're going to ask another question. Till eventually the client will ask a question, well, how would you solve this problem? Well, what is it that you can offer me? And then you answer the question, and that's where the sale starts to happen. But only once you've actually identified the client's problem. And we need to look at the sales process, because there's an old type of selling and a new type of selling. And what we want to do, we want to build rapport, we want to sell, and we want to follow up. And how does that work? So when we look at the old types of style of selling, the old style of selling is, present a strong pitch, push the product, often involves inserting pressure, counter objections, make the sale. The new style is focus on understanding what your client needs, your prospect needs. Build that rapport, build that trust. Do not apply pressure. Validate the objections and reopen conversation. And if we look at it here, when we've broken it up into two sections, the old style always reminds me of, once again, I come back to the timeshare salesman, where you've got virtually no relationship with that salesperson. They do very little to identify the need, but they push the product. They overpromise. They close the deal. They underdeliver. They move on to the next prospect. You walk away from signing this deal feeling like you've been sold something you don't need. And 40% of the effort used to be on closing the sale. 40% of the effort was, getting you into that hall where they're going to punt you to close the sale. And then they don't hear from you. The new style is building that relationship, establishing the trust. That is 40% of the process. The most important thing in your process, sales process, is building the relationship and establishing the trust. The next is identifying the need, 30%. 20% is offering the solution and 10% is closing the deal, because actually you want them to close the deal. Then you over-deliver, you continue to build relationships, you ask for referrals, and you get them to buy again. And that is the process that we've got to follow. And we still today spend too much time on trying to sell. How often do I see people send out an email to a prospect? The first email, the prospect's never received an email from them, and you're offering a solution to them. But you're not building the relationship. You're not establishing trust. You're not identifying the need. How do you know what to offer the client if you don't know what they need? Extremely important. And when we look at the question funnel, we got to always ask open-ended questions. Now, you might ask, what is an open-ended question? An open-ended question is an answer that doesn't end in a yes and a no or a no. An open-ended question is where you're asking, so how did you overcome this challenge in the past? What is your biggest frustration? And you're getting them to talk. Then you're going to get down into the specifics. Then you're going to talk about the solutions. And you're not going to talk about a solution in the sense of, well, this is what we can do for you. You're going to talk about a solution in the sense, well, this is what we did for somebody else. This is where the story comes in. Remember, you don't want to come across selling. We had this exact problem with Jack, a client of mine, and we did this and this and this. And, this helped him. What do you think about what we did for Jack? So I could say, well, do you think this solution would work for you? Well, now we're going to a yes and no. We don't want open-ended questions. What do you think of this solution? No, I don't think that solution would work. Well, what solution do you think would work for you? Open-ended questions. Temperature check. Always temperature check. This is so important. Are they understanding what you're saying? So if you're talking about the solution, the guy says, that solution would probably work for us. That's where you're temperature checking. No, that solution, I don't think that solution would work for us. But why would that be? Now you've temperature checked. Okay, so that solution is not the option. You got to go back, open-ended questions, talk again, be specific, going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down the whole time, till you can start to get into the details. And it all starts with who, where, what, why, and how. Who has the problem? Where is the problem? What is the problem? When you have those problems, why are you having those problems? And how can I help you? And it's always about playing dumb. You may believe that you know the solution to that client. You know the answer, but you have to act dumb because you want them to tell you what the answer is. And you want to dig deep. So it all comes down to asking the right questions with things like, can I just ask you, by the way, have you ever tried something like this? Incidentally, we had this issue with another client of ours, and this is how we overcome it. And whenever you asking questions, always ask permission. Do you mind if I ask you a question about that? Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions about some of the challenges you're having with this product or service at the moment? You know, you need to you actually need to sit down and spend time and actually write down what these questions could be, what the solutions could be for those questions. Because only then do you start to get agreement and decision. Then you talk about the investment and then action. So we talk about the pricing last. So often I find we go into these sales meetings and we actually haven't written down how we deal with objections, how we deal with certain questions, because we think we know what we know, but in actual fact, we don't. And once you've documented, you can also then share that with your team and they can use it going forward. Always, once again, get permission at the end of the cycle. So this is what we call a question cycle. You ask a question, you listen. You give positive feedback, positive strokes, you ask another question. You get them to keep asking the questions. You play dumb. You know the answer. You know what they need, but you don't want to tell them. You need to reach that emotion first. Because once you reach that emotion, they're going to start asking you questions. Only when they start asking you questions do you now really understand you're starting to get through to them. Now, this is something that's so important. And I've been bitten by this good couple of times. And even myself as an action coach, I need to kick myself sometimes. Always find out who other than the person you're talking to will be involved in making the decision. Because if you're going in to try and make a sale and there's suddenly a third party that you weren't aware of, you now need to change your whole language. Because you know straight away you're not going to be able to make the sale. You are going to now need to convince this person that you have a potential solution so that you can invite the third party to your next meeting to close the sale. So before you try sell, always ask who other than yourself will need to be involved in making this decision. Oh, no, my finance director and my marketing guy and my HR, they all need to be part of this process. So do you feel that what we're offering could offer value to you? Yes. Well, would the next step be that we can all get together and have a meeting with everyone involved, and I can do a presentation to everyone about our products? Straight away, you have to shift your conversation because you're trying to sell to the wrong person. Your aim here then is to get a follow-up meeting with the right person. Maybe you're talking to the person on the phone and you want to say to them, great. Now, before we say to the meeting, is there anyone else besides yourself who would need to be involved in the decision-making process? Very important. And we've heard today that finance is an issue. Money tends to be an issue. Oh, that's too expensive. And we've got to understand that finances is a problem, can be an issue. But I also believe a lot of times people use money as an excuse to say no, when there is more deeper lying issues. So can I ask you, what budget did you have in mind? So how much did you think this would cost? So if it wasn't for the cost, is this something that you would do? And then the answer is no, yeah, but then you know you need to go back and start digging deeper because you didn't reach the right emotion. And once you've reached that emotion and you've reached that agreement where the guy's voiced that yes, the solution could be for him, Then you can go in with a yes and no, with a closed question. So based on what you've told me, John, if we look at these two solutions, X and Y, which one will suit you best? Now you're starting to narrow it down to getting the closed questions. Always temperature check. Check the prospect. Then ask for detailed questions. Always check that they understand. Are you still with me? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you agree? Temperature check. Always temperature check. So if we have a look at how do you think this would fit with what you had in mind? Is this what you had in mind? Temperature check. Which one do you think would fit best with you? Oh, I'm actually not too sure either of these are suitable for us. All right, so now we've got to go all the way back. We still need to ask more questions. We did not get to the emotion. We did not find the problem. Always assume the sale. Extremely important to always assume the sale. This is extremely important. You must always go in with a mindset that the sale is yours. Because it's that confidence that you need. When you go in thinking, well, this is a waste of time, well, it's going to be a waste of time. And that is so important to understand. Once the guy signed and said, yes, I agree, I think this is a great solution. So you would say to him something like, you need to find your own wording, but this is the basic wording. Would it be okay if I outline what we need to do next to get this underway? Would it be okay if I share with you what the next steps in the process are? The next step in the process is I'm going to go back, I'm going to send you a performer invoice, I'm going to send you a quote, then I'm going to give you a ring in 2 days' time. Is that okay with you? Yes, okay, excellent. Then I'm going to give you a ring in 2 days' time, and maybe your close on that sale is just to get a quote. Because remember, every step of the process is a sale. When I phone a person to get a meeting, I'm selling a meeting. When I'm in that meeting and I want a quote, I'm selling a quote. When I quote the client, I need to have another phone call or a meeting. So if I send a quote, I'm going to phone to say, did you get the quote? Is there anything in the quote that you need to talk about? Can we set up a meeting? At the meeting after the quote, your aim is to sell a sale. So just remember, every step of the process, you are selling something. Always be professional. Develop your sales toolkit. That is those scripts, those problems that you write them down. Dress well. Blue is the best thing that you can wear. Always be on time. Keep in touch. Let them know you're on your way. Not only that, let them know you're on your way, because you don't want to waste your time driving out there and then they're not there as well. Pre-frame the prospect. Do your homework. The money you make is directly proportional to how well you know your customer's pain, or not how well you know your customer. Do your research, do your due diligence. Look at them on LinkedIn, look at them on Facebook, look at them on the internet. The more money they're worth to you over a period of a year, the more homework you need to do. You need to understand. Keep testimonials with you. So if they ask you for testimonials, build rapport. Find out what's most important to them. Always follow up. Send thank you. Thank you. So once you've had a meeting, send an email. Thank you for the great meeting today. Just to highlight, this is what we spoke about, and this is the next steps. I wouldn't ask for a referral at this stage unless they've sold to you and they're happy. Be consistent. Extremely important to be consistent. Very important. One of the things I want to do now is I want to also jump on, so now we've been talking about I'm in person and I've been talking to you and we've been meeting for people, but how good are your phone skills? And there's a couple of things I want to share with you in terms of telephone skills, which are so important when selling and communicating with people as well. And it comes down to, we must always remember, whether it's sales, first picture, first impressions last. You know, first impressions, last impression, conversion. What does that mean? So when we have a look at your phone, what are you guys doing in terms of phoning when you talk to clients? I mean, I had the other day a telephone, and sometimes I love these telemarketers because I just love to learn from them. And I had a telemarketer phone me. Man, she sounded like she was dying. She sounded like she hated her job. And I can guarantee you, that day was probably terrible for her because her conversion must have been horrific. One of the most important things I want to share with you today is when you answer the phone, smile before you pick it up. Smile. People can feel and hear that smile on the other end of the phone. Very important. Smile. Don't let it ring forever. They say, yeah, after 2 rings, I think a lot of us is very difficult to answer over 2 rings, but don't let it ring forever. Clients get irritated. Greet people. Say good morning, good afternoon. If you know their name, call them by their names. Once they say their name, write their name down so that you remember it so you can talk to them with their name on the phone. If you're screening calls or if your people are screening calls, be very careful how you screen calls. People hate calls being screened. Always ask permission. Do you mind if I put you on hold while I have to look? I just need to check something. Would you mind holding? Never say Mariette is in a meeting. Say she's with somebody. I'm sorry, but Fani's in a meeting right now. He can't come to the phone call. No, Fani's just busy with someone at the moment. Can I get him to phone you back? Listen attentively and give positive strikes. Very, very important. Listen carefully and ask questions. Once again, ask questions, ask questions. It's the same thing on the phone. If somebody's phoning you, they got an inquiry, ask questions, get to know why they're phoning you. And then obviously, thank you for calling. It's always so, so important. Now, we spoke about earlier on about when you're in front of that person is you're talking about use their language. We were imitating them, or not imitating, but mimicking them to a degree. Is also always try use their language. Very important to understand. And remember, always think about it. What's in it for this is what the client is, the prospect is thinking when he phones you. What's in it for me? When he phones you, and then temperature check. Would you mind if I get Fani to phone you back? No, but it's urgent and I need to talk to him now. Temperature check, temperature check. And we're not selling, but also, once again, always presume the sale. One of the things I want to share with you right now is, I just want to find it, is one of the most powerful tools in selling. Silence. This is the most powerful tool in your sales toolkit. So, John, tell me, how do you think we should proceed from here? And be quiet. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I was just quiet. What did it do? It elevated your anxiety level. It elevated, well, somebody needs to say something. I need to say something. What must I say? Silence creates that discomfort for the prospect where somebody needs to say something and you don't want to be the person to say something. You need to be silent. Oh, you know, Peter, I think that's a great idea. We definitely have an opportunity here. Excellent, John. So would it be all right if I sent you a quote? It's awkward, isn't it? Very difficult to stay silent. You know, John, we can do this for you. I tell you what, we will do, we can do the cell phone tower, we can do the tower mass for you. And, you know, how does 100,000 Rand for this tower sound to you? And you stay quiet. This is the most powerful sales tool that you can utilize. It's extremely, extremely important to understand that. Very, very important to understand that. Another thing that I want to share with you is make sure when you get off the phone that you hang up last. Never, thank you very much, no problem, bye. Don't do that. Wait for them to put the phone down. Don't leave them hanging. Very important. Don't leave them hanging. So, when we have a look going forward, is your homework for the next 3 weeks is create a list of questions for your question funnel. Create a purpose statement if you've got a sales team for your sales team. List at least 10 telephone performance standards. And I've sent you guys a lot of information to read that you can teach your team or that you want to follow. Read the DISC workbook and the VAC workbook that I sent you and see how you can apply that in your sales script, in your sales process. So basically, I want to run around the room. Let's see who we've still got left. So, Alida, tell me, what's your biggest takeaway from today's session? What are the highlights for you?
Definitely a lot of highlights and a lot of things that I've seen that that I myself have been doing wrong. So there's a lot of things that are definitely going to change. And yeah, there's a lot of things. Yeah.
You want to give us some examples of one or two that really stood out for you?
Well, firstly, the telephone calls. I know for a fact Hannes is also one of those persons who he doesn't wait for the client to put his phone down. He just puts down the phone. And I'm also guilty in that. And then to have more chats with the client and try to sort out a problem. That's, yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Erna.
Peter, I think I must take off time to swat this, because I'm a terrible marketer and saleswoman. So I think I have to go through this a lot of times and make it my own. The one thing that I could identify with is the silence part. So that I can do well. But yes, thank you for this. I'm going to work through this, definitely.
Excellent. Yeah. And then, I mean, during our coaching sessions, or if you guys are testing something and you feel it's not working, you know, reach out to me. You know, we always can jump on another session and actually rehash this again, because we will cover it, and it is a process. It takes time and practice to get it going. Fani, over to you.
Hi, Peter. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, still driving. I think from my side, out of all the sessions with Action Coach, so far this one is really like getting me excited, because yeah, it's all about sales, and that's not really my strong point. But the good thing is, listening to you and everything you said, there is some things that I actually do right in sales. So I'm actually not that bad of a salesperson. That's what I thought initially. But yeah, and the whole thing about driving a solution or selling a solution rather than to drive a price and a product is actually so true. I experienced that lately. You know, if you've got the right solution and the right approach, and you sell yourself well, not the product, but you sell yourself well in your services and what you can offer them as a turnkey, the price really doesn't matter so much at the end of the day, although it still do. But yeah, something interesting I've come across it a couple of years ago, and it just popped into my mind. It's just a question, another way of asking, why am I in business, or what am I doing with the business? Obviously, the purpose is to obviously find your why and all that, but the object is always to make money. And to look at it in this way is, there's a lot of people out there, there's billions, and everybody's got a bank account. And there's money in the bank accounts. It's for you to figure out how you're going to get that money into yours.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. That's really great. That's really, really great. Thank you. Mariette, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Ah,
Peter?
there we go. We can hear you. So yeah, your biggest takeaway from today's session.
No, I'd love to get Fani's telephone number, because I've got a few ideas how to break into banks.
Lovely, man, lovely. So yeah, what's your top learning?
I think just to reinforce what I knew, and also to highlight gaps. And I think you know me and Erna and how we operate a little bit better. And yes, she is using silence very well, but my problem is then I can't stop talking. So yes, I think there's a lot of things that I can take to heart and work on it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I mean, really, really a great session. Must always remember something very important. Always remember, words can inspire, thoughts can provoke, but only actions truly bring you closer to your dreams. You can attend these sessions and you can attend everyone, but unless you go and take action on what you've learned, it's going to mean nothing. And yeah, that brings us to the end of today's session. So really go out. It's Wednesday. Have a great week, what's left of it. Let's smack June out the park. Let's really get some leverage going. Write down some skills for sales and go out there and practice. And one thing that I would like to leave with you, and this is something I learned, if you get in front of a person and straight away you realize that this person is not going to buy from you, use that as an opportunity to practice. Because you know already the answer is no, so therefore you've got nothing to lose. You can either cut the meeting short and save you some time, or you can practice. And I always say practice, practice. When you pick up that phone and that person doesn't want to have that meeting, he's not really engaged, it's your opportunity to practice. So go out there and let's make it happen. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of today's session. I will stay on for a couple of moments. If anybody wants to chat, I am available.
I just want to say thank you, Peter. I really enjoyed this session.
My pleasure, leader.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you,
Lots to
Anna.
learn.
Thank you, Mariette. Thank you, Fani.
Yep.
Fani, drive safe.
Keep well.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day and have a nice rest of the week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.